Okay, so the Super Eagles of Nigeria will be involved in the FIFA World Cup playoff for the FIFA World Cup in 2026 that we all said next year. And of course, we find ourselves in the playoff situation where we would have to take on Gabon and then wait to see the winner between Cameroon and the Democratic Republic of Congo before we know who will face in the final. Now, the playoff is finally here. We take on Gabon, and so far Eagles are trickling into camp. A couple of them have arrived at the camp already in Morocco. How do you think we are looking for for the playoffs?
This is a very painful conversation for me
Yeah.
because I never expected us to be playing the playoffs. So when the we had that draws and we saw South Africa, saw Benin
Benin
Republic,
Republic,
you know,
Rwanda,
when we saw
yeah,
them in our groups, I was elated. I just felt, after 8 games, 7 games, we would have qualified or we
yeah,
would be in pole position to qualify. So the fact that we have to even make this analysis, it's a slap to my face. In fact, our collective faces as Nigerians, it shows how far we have fallen as a football nation. This isn't about other nations progressing. Of course, other nations have been improving,
yeah,
football wise, but
yeah.
this is an indictment of how much we have regressed. You understand? And it's an indictment to our leaders. Those are the helm of affairs. Our political leaders who are not imposing political will on our football. And then we also have the NFF leaders, people who have, been disgracing us recently
Yeah.
because of their conduct and all. We ought to prioritize football because football is one of the few things that brings us together collectively
Yeah.
as Nigerians. So when we are playing, we tend to forget our religion, we tend to forget our politics, our tribes. We forget everything, and we just want Ahmed Musa to score. We just want Victor Osimehn to score. Back in the days of Victor Agali, Rashidi Yekini, we just want these people to put the ball in the back of the net. You understand?
Yeah.
So we never cared if Peter Osaze or David Gay rather is an half caste. We never cared about if JJ Okocha was Igbo, Gabalawa. We never cared about their tribes. It's a tool for. I don't know why our leaders are not taking advantage of football. Like it's very easy. It's a very easy tool for nation building.
Yeah.
It's like the cement, one of the cements you can use to bring us together. So the fact that we are playing the playoff, it's not like the people in our group were actually exceptional. Let's be honest. They weren't exceptional. We were just too poor. We were not serious about it.
Okay, now we will get to the part of the NFF and all of the drama that has come vis-a-vis the FIFA and CAF funds that some people say was misappropriated. The NFF have come out to explain that that money was for a mini pitch, not really a stadium like most people had expected. But let's focus on the Super Eagles. Um, we did not start the qualifiers well. We did not start well. We probably did not. We thought we were going to just walk through the qualification, but somehow South Africa snatched that ticket from our hand. We were able to rescue the playoff spot on the last day, really. What do you think the players should be looking at as they face Gabon?
First of all, they should look at the 230 million Nigerians behind them. That should be the source of their strength, of their collective strength.
Yeah.
I think we have a very good chance of beating Gabon. And I do think, but football can change. But I do think we are going to be meeting Cameroon in the playoff finals. And the indomitable Lions of Cameroon, they have been our bane before. Up until recently. We used to have this fierce rivalry where we were meeting ourselves once every 2 years or thereabouts, especially in the Nations Cup. So it's a rivalry that could be sparked again. But the Cameroon national team, they are also very strong. They have one of the best strikers in the world presently, Bayern Mbeumo of Manchester United. They also have Onana, who is currently on form at Trabzonspor. You know, we used to have this Nigerian team that we are absolute class. Yeah. Our players were at the top clubs in Europe. You had a Mikel Obi playing for Chelsea, winning the EPL. In fact, he was starting every game. It was the fulcrum of the Chelsea a team. You understand? We had this. JJ Okocha was the captain of Bolton after he left PSG for Bolton. But today, I don't want to talk too much about the quality of our players because obviously we have qualitative players, but then the pressure, the NFF has to look at the expectations of the 230 million Nigerians and then put that pressure on the Super Eagles of Nigeria. That would ensure you see countries like the Selicao, the Brazilians, for example. You see the English national team. At a point in time, they dropped Jude Bellingham. You understand? The Brazilian national team would they even there are suggestions that Carlo Ancelotti might even drop Neymar Jr. for the World Cup because there is this pressure that if you are not playing, you are not a mainstay in your club team. You shouldn't play for the national team. But today you have so many of our Nigerian footballers who are not even playing in who are playing in average clubs. Let me put it that way. They're not playing in the top clubs now. They're playing in the average clubs in Europe. Some of them are in the top five leagues, others are not. And then there is no pressure on them to be starters for their club team. So how do you expect a player who has not been consistent? I know Osimehn can go band for band with Bayern Mbeumo. Yeah. In fact, if you look at it, Osimehn has been better this season. Better, yeah. You understand? But we can also argue that Bayern Mbeumo plays as a 10, as an inside forward for Manchester United. So you should not compare them based on the goals alone. You should look at other factors. But even if you want to do that, we cannot keep having players who are not starters, who are not assured of starting in their clubs, and then just because they're in Europe, we pick them over players who are playing week in, week out. And that is why I'm a very big advocate for the league to be developed. And that's why the news of Nigerian fans splitting the truth of an opposition player that scored simply because it was an equalizer or something like that. I found it very distasteful. Because if we have a league that can generate qualitative, look at the South African, the Bafana team, for example. Most of their players, if not all of them, are home-based players. And so when you put on your Go TV today, you are going to be shown the South African league, whereas we're supposed to be seeing our league. So all of these things, they affect your chances as a nation because the pressure to get to the national team is not even there, and then the pressure to perform is non-existent.
Okay, I think that these players play. Football is a sport that is it's based on your ability. You cannot play beyond your ability. Maybe there is the technical input. A technically sound coach may be able to find a way to get a less talented team to defeat a more talented one, right? But oftentimes, the more talented side would always prevail because it's about talent, it's about ability, and of course, it's about passion. We cannot at any point accuse our players of not having any of this. I think that a player like Victor Osimehn or a Calvin Bassey play for the Super Eagles with so much passion and commitment. Um, but somehow a lot has been missing from the part of the federation and of course the part of us getting a quality coach that can harness all of these talents. Our coach is yet to technically lose a game since he became the coach of the Super Eagles. This playoff is it a make or break time for him? If we do not go through the playoff, Is that the end? Should that be the end of Eric Chell for the Super Eagles?
I don't really want to comment on that because my idea was that if we are bringing in a foreign coach, it should be because of the exceptional service they would deliver. And I've also bemoaned the fact that Nigeria mints less than 100 coaches yearly. There's just the FIFA Grade A course that accommodates 25 people and they do it quarterly. I think that number is too small. That's just one point. Another point is that most of the things you learn as a footballer, you learn them early. It's just like your personality that you learn during childhood.
Yeah.
It's just like some of your traits, some of your characters. How you are able to self-regulate. These things you learn them from when you are still a kid. You understand? So when you grow up, these things start. They become a part of you. They start materializing. I don't think you can. If you go to Benin Insurance, for example, now get their 25 players, take them to Man City, and then expect, let's say, Guardiola is going to, keep more than one or two of them, because the quality would not be there.
Yeah.
What we should have is a system that develops players from childhood. We should not be having, if we have a qualitative system, we have 774 local governments in Nigeria. If, let's say, every year we're able to, let's say each local government is able to send even one player to the Nigerian league who is a qualitative player, that you have their injury history, their age history, everything about them. They have been taught the game of football as an art and as a science over, let's say, 4 years, 5 years before they turned 18. Now, imagine the amount of information those guys would add to their skills. It would be like a part of them. You understand the point? That now improves the quality of the league. And then, if we have a pathway for our footballers to go to Europe, as expatriates, like you have in Brazil now, you see players like Estevao.
At 18, yeah,
At 18,
already
he's
in
already in
Europe.
Chelsea,
Yeah.
has already migrated from his club to, and that, like, how many players in Enyimba have had that same football career path in the last 20 or 30 years? You understand the point? Now, Estival is playing in Chelsea, who are currently the world champions, no doubt one of the biggest clubs in the world, with the best football coaching staffs, amongst the best nutritionists, the best analysts, the best physios, amongst the best coaches in the world. They are currently training Estival. That is the quality that guy is going to take to the Brazilian national team. You understand? So that's my point. All of these things stems from the fact that we have a very poor system. We don't have an academy system.
So basically, right now, all we're trying to do is find a quick fix to
Yes,
the World Cup
yes,
for
yes.
next year,
Yeah, we need a
because
stopgap approach, though.
developing a system is going to take us, like we always say, going back to the drawing board
We can have just a 5-year plan.
and then do a plan. An example of that working plan will be Morocco. You can see how they've developed in the last 5 years since the last World Cup till now. Even their under 20 side did very well in the under 20 World Cup championship, and of course, next year's Nations Cup will be another test for this Moroccan team to see how far they've come. They are in the World Cup already. They had a fantastic run in the last World Cup. They made Cristiano Ronaldo cry, like the little Moroccan girl said that he was crying in his car. So all of that is there. But for the Super Eagles, I think that we need to find a way to beat Gabon.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, one of the best strikers Africa's ever had, will be there for Gabon. How do we keep someone like that quiet? He has been in okay, we can say he has been in some kind of form since he returned back to the French league. But of course, we have our own Victor Osimehn, who scored an hat-trick in the
You
Champions League
saw you saw how we played
during
our
the
last
yeah.
game. You saw how serious they were. You saw how they kept attacking. Even after Osimhen had scored, they kept feeding him till he got a hat trick. You understand? That's how we should play against Gabon. It doesn't matter if Aubameyang scores one or two. We can score five. But we should not go into the game playing like Barcelona, who wants to concede three and then score you six. We should play a balance. We should have a balance. We should play a balanced game, and they are easily beatable in the sense that if we have the willpower, we have the players, we have the skill sets, we have some of the. Osimehn can go band for band with, and including Haaland. We can go band for band for any footballer in the world at now. You understand, and still deliver. So I think when it comes to star players, Nigeria has that edge. But I'm not sure if we have the willpower and the sense of urgency to deliver that. And all of these things, I keep saying it. This is the fault of the Nigerian government and the NFF. Going back to the drawing board, we just need a 3 or 4 years plan and we'll get our football back. And how do you do that? Ensure that secondary schools within a particular local government, junior secondary schools and senior secondary schools, they have football tournaments. You understand? Now, from the football tournaments, you pick some of these players, get them enrolled in an academy where they can study their books and study football, or have a system where by the time they get back from school, they can go to the academy and get trained. You understand? And then if you have it in all the local governments in Nigeria, if you have 774 local governments, and then you have such many competitions at different age grade, and then you pick the best players from each schools, let's say 25 each or 30 each, put them in an academy. Let's say for 1 year you train them. Some of the players are going to fall, they're going to, go astray because our football clubs do not have the resources to do that. I'm not sure Benin Insurance has the resources to maintain an under 21 side, an under 18 side, an under 16 side, and even an under 13 side. I'm not sure they do. So the government and the NFF can collaborate and find a very cheap fix for it. You go to all the other institutions of learning in Nigeria today, you have people studying sports education. These guys can easily be in secondary schools teaching, like they teach physical and health education. They can just now major in football. So what happens is that you get these guys their grade D license, which is I think around a 6 weeks course or thereabout, if I remember correctly. Get them trained in these courses mandatorily, in fact, during their youth service, if they apply for the jobs, get them trained on this, let them have the license. Then we can kickstart it. And they just give it a 3 year plan. A player who is already in SS2 should be around 15, 16. And then that player is educated for another 2 years. He would be able to compete in the Nigerian league. And then we can now have a pathway for people buying them. And then you have strong qualitative players. That's
All right. So Super Eagles of Nigeria, of course, know that they have to beat Gabon. We have to beat Gabon, and of course, we have to beat either Cameroon or Congo in the finals before we now go to the other intercontinental playoffs again. It's still a long journey to the World Cup. It's not. If we beat Gabon and we beat Cameroon, we're not in the World Cup still. We still have a long way to go to finally get there. Quickly, let's look at the performance of some of our players so far this season for clubs, for their club size. Who would you say has been your standout player for the Super Eagles apart from Victor Osimhen?
definitely. Then there's this Iwobi and Kevin Bassey for Fulham. Despite um, all the criticisms Iwobi gets, sometimes I criticize him too. Yeah, because you are a football player. Although I do not criticize maliciously. I don't abuse them, but I tend to say you are not doing this well. Improve on this. Uh-huh. So now I do believe that by virtue of the fact that they are a key part of the Fulham team, that gives them an edge over some of our other players who are fringe players for their club side. You understand the point? So for me, I think I would just go for Alex Iwobi and Calvin Bassey because they're absolutely killing it for Fulham FC, irrespective of their position in the league. But at least they are starters. They get to play week in, week out.
Yeah, so someone like Tolu Arokodare, for example, at Wolves, I was really not impressed since coming to the Premier League. But of course, we are hoping that as he begins to understand the league, he will become more effective. And of course, for the Super Eagles, also we are wishing him. We're hoping that he can really stand out in these two games and see how far we can go with the Super Eagles in this qualifying series. Now, let's quickly touch on the FIFA and the funds issue. Amaju Pinnick was on was on television, and he did explain that at the time this money was released, it was around 400 million naira, according to him, and that money cannot build a standard stadium anywhere in the world. Stadiums range from billions of dollars and so on, and that the money was just to build mini pitches, like a mini stadium with a small stand for football development. Braining Kirby and then the one in Delta State and all of that. What's your take on that
You know,
issue?
the NFF have not been really transparent, and with the level of secretiveness that they display, it's really hard to trust them. And then again, you have to also look at other factors that they are not even inventive. They don't they are not interested in solving the football problem that we currently have. This is a menace. You understand the point? And then another thing that Amaju Pinnick tried to smartly do was to compare the value of the money then and adjust it with the prices of things now. So let's go back to how much was the cost of building this football, because FIFA cannot just give you that amount of money without ascertaining that it can actually do a good job. You understand the point? So if this can do a good job, okay, take go and do the good job. So where's the result? The result is poor. Even now, 400 million can do what they do, because these lands you don't have to buy them. All you have to do is to get approval from the relevant authorities, either the state or the local government. If they allocate a piece of land to you, then you call construct. Are you trying to tell me that just a pitch and that small stand, even now, would cost 200 million naira? You understand the point? Even now, are you trying to tell me it will cost 200 million naira? Then how about in 2020 when this money came? You can now see now that most of these monies were utilized anyhow. It was utilized anyhow. So I do think that they this should call for a Senate hearing. The Nigerian government, through the legislative arm, should have held a panel, appoint people to head this panel. There should be public prosecution of these people. And if they are found guilty of financial impropriety, send them to jail as a lesson to others. It will serve as a deterrent to others. And if their hands are actually clean, will be able to now respond to the allegations of FIFA, because this is damning. This is damning because if, for example, FIFA is able to insinuate that the Nigerian football authorities and federation have misappropriated funds, that's the word that they are trying to insinuate. Now, how are you as a private investor, or let's say as a club like Manchester United, for example, now, or Arsenal, or Chelsea FC, you want to have a remote football academy so that you can have first first choice of talents from Africa. Let's say you want to set up an academy now in Nigeria because you want to have access to fresh talents from Nigeria before they start getting expensive. You understand the point? So why would you now, as the management board of FC Barcelona or Real Madrid, would you want to come to Nigeria, or would you want to go to Morocco or South Africa where they don't have these issues? It's such a shame.
Okay, for me, we still need to understand what that money was released for. We have been told that it's for football development, grassroots football development. These pieces have been built. For me, it's about how we can utilize these facilities, whether they were substandard or whether the money was misappropriated or not. We cannot. I don't think that we would ever get to see the end of it because we are in a country where we never get to see anything done about these issues, of course. So they've built them. Let's see how far we can utilize these facilities to the betterment of football in
They're
Nigeria.
saying 400 million cannot build mini pitches, two mini pitches, even with today's adjusted for inflation, with the cost of labor, cost of materials and all in the market today. They are saying 200 million naira cannot build a mini pitch. Does that now? Imagine what it would cost us to build mini pitches in all the local governments in Nigeria. You understand the point? So that tells you that even the 200 million is enough to build a mini pitch. The way I see it,
Football is a very, very capital intensive industry. It takes a lot of investment. If you look at the new Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, or even the work being done at the Emirates Stadium, now they want to expand it, or even Old Trafford, you see that it costs a lot of money.
and that's partly because of the fact that they pay their their staff. They pay them overtime. They pay them in pounds. These people, the staff that worked, they are paid in pounds. How much are our construction companies paying the casual staff? And it's slave labor.
My point is, I do not believe that we are really, really prepared
And even the stadium,
into
yes, and even the stadiums that they build nowadays now, they incorporate so many facilities. First of all, they build hotels around the stadiums, and then they also build other things like even games.
so the stadium can be
used
used
for
for other
recreational,
things
yes, even
apart
for
from
football
just
fans that
football
come
games.
in,
Yes,
they're able to get all of this, but they are not even in our own stadiums.
the Tottenham Stadium has been used for so many concerts,
You
and
understand the
even I
point?
think NFL games or something. So you can see that when you invest in these facilities, they would ultimately bring back the
Yes, they
resources.
bring back the
Yeah,
revenue.
the revenue.
You
So
understand the point?
I think that's where we need to really now focus on as a country. Our stadiums are abandoned. If you look at the Abuja National Stadium today, it's an embarrassment. If you look at the one in Lagos, which we all grew up knowing, the Onikon Stadium, I saw it recently and I was almost moved to tears. It's in a sorry state. So I think that because of the disrepair that some of our facilities have fallen into, it's also difficult to. It's part of why we're not getting good upcoming footballers and athletes in Nigeria, really, really. So we hope that all of this can be fixed. Let's quickly go to your prediction for the Nigeria versus
I
Gabon game.
think it will be a 3-1 win for Nigeria. I think it will be a 3-1 win for Nigeria.
Hopefully, Nigeria is the Super
And I
Eagles.
do think that Cameroon, we are going to meet Cameroon in the finals. So I think when we get to that bridge, I'll make my prediction.
You are writing off Congo right now.
No, I'm not writing off Congo.
Okay.
And they can also beat Cameroon, but with the present form of the Indomitable Lions and with the quality of players that they have, and then history is also on their side. So I think they would be able to edge the Congolese and get to face Nigeria in the final.
So Nigeria and Cameroon, one of us will not be in the World Cup. One of the powerhouses of African football will not make it to the World Cup. Let's see. It's possible that both of us don't even make it, because whoever gets to the intercontinental playoff may still not qualify, which will be really funny. But I see a 2-1 victory for the Super Eagles. I don't see us scoring 3 goals against Gabon somehow. 2-1 victory for Super Eagles, 1 or 2 goals from Victor Osimehn.
That's exactly why I
We'll
said
do the
we are going
job.
to score 3, because Osimehn is a super weapon and is now moving towards the elite level of Haaland and Mbappe or Harry Kane, where you are already a goal up.